Whose life are you really living? Is it yours? Or someone else's dream wrapped around your bones? Carl Jung believed that most people are not living their own life. They're wearing masks, acting in roles they never chose, playing out stories that were written long before they were born. This isn't a motivational speech. This is a psychological warning. And if you're brave enough to listen till the end, you might finally start writing your own story. We all grow up believing we're free. But from the moment we're born, scripts are quietly handed to us. Be a good son, be a quiet girl, be successful, be likable, follow the rules, blend in, fit the mold. No one tells you. This script is not your own. You inherited it from your parents, from your teachers, from a society that's terrified of what you might become. If you truly woke up, Jung called this living in the persona, a public mask we wear to survive. But masks can become prisons, and if you never take yours off, you might die having never met yourself. Here's the strange part: even your desires may not be yours. Jung discovered that deep inside all of us lives the collective unconscious, ancient patterns, stories, and symbols passed down through generations. What you think is personal might actually be ancestral. You're chasing status because your great-grandfather chased survival. You crave approval because your bloodline feared exile. Science is catching up. Epigenetics shows that trauma can pass through DNA, old wounds whispering through your nervous system. So ask yourself, are you free? Or are you just a page in someone else's unfinished story? We learn early that showing our true self can be dangerous. So we wear a mask. It smiles at the right time, says what people want to hear, never stirs the waters too much. It's called the persona, the image you create to be accepted. But here's the trap. The more polished your mask becomes, the more invisible your real self becomes. And one day, you forget there was ever someone beneath it. Jung didn't want you to throw away the mask, he just wanted you to know you're wearing one. You think you chose your career? Think again. Many people live out the unlived dreams of their parents. The artist becomes a lawyer. The wanderer becomes a banker. Not because they want to, but because they're afraid to disappoint. Jung called this the family complex, invisible loyalties passed down like sacred vows. It's not just about guilt. It's about survival. As children, we do anything to feel loved, even if it means betraying our future. So take a breath and ask, is this my path? Or am I still trying to earn someone else's love? Today, the masks have multiplied. We scroll, we swipe, we post, but who's really doing the choosing? Algorithms learn what makes you click, then feed it back to you. Endlessly. It feels like freedom, but it's a loop, a cage made of pixels and dopamine. You think you're expressing yourself, but most of what we call identity online is performance. Jung never lived to see the internet, but he warned about this exact thing. Losing the self in a world obsessed with reflection. In trying to be seen, we've forgotten how to see ourselves. So how do you break free? Jung called it individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are. It's not a self-help hack. It's a spiritual rebellion. It begins when you stop running, when you sit with the dreams that scare you, when you listen to the thoughts you were told to ignore. It's not easy. You might lose friends. You might disappoint your parents. You'll definitely feel lost, but in that darkness, something stirs, something ancient, something true. But before you can become whole, you must meet your shadow, all the parts you've hidden, the anger, the jealousy, the desire, the power. You buried them to be good, but now they haunt you. In your dreams, in your relationships, in the things that trigger you. Jung said, the gold is in the dark. Your shadow isn't evil. It's simply unlived life, and facing it might be the most honest thing you ever do. Alchemy isn't about turning metal into treasure. It's about turning you into something whole. Jung saw the soul like a furnace. Everything you avoid, your pain, your confusion, your guilt, that's the lead. But if you bring it into awareness, if you stay with it, it starts to transform. You don't become someone else. You become yourself, more real, more raw, more awake, and slowly, you stop living someone else's life. Jung didn't offer easy answers. He offered dangerous questions. So here's one for you. if your name were forgotten? If all your roles vanished? Who would you be? Not your job, not your family name, not your following, just you, because in the end, there's only one thing worse than dying never having lived. We think we know who we are, but Carl Jung saw something most people don't, that we spend our lives acting out scripts we didn't write. From a young age, we're told what's right, what's acceptable, what's normal. So we adjust, we put on masks, we trade our real selves for a version of us that will be accepted, and over time, we forget the mask was ever a mask. It becomes our identity, our prison. Jung called it the persona, the face we wear to survive. The world, but behind that face, something deeper waits, something we've forgotten. How do we become who we are? By copying, by surviving. Our parents, teachers, culture, they shape us before we even know we're being shaped. And that's not always a bad thing. But if we never question it, we live out someone else's unlived life. Jung saw this as a tragedy, people reaching old age, only to realize they never truly lived. We carry generational shadows, fears, traumas, beliefs that don't belong to us, and they whisper, be this, not that, do what's expected, not what's true. So we follow paths that aren't ours. Jobs we don't love, relationships that don't fit, identities that feel off, but deep inside, something feels wrong, because it is beneath the roles, beneath the noise, is the self, the part of you that existed before the world told you who to be. Jung called it the capital S self, not your personality, not your habits, but your soul's blueprint. And most people, they never meet it. But sometimes, it speaks. In dreams. In moments of silence. In the feeling that there must be more than this. That's not your imagination. That's the real you trying to get your attention and the journey of life. It's not about becoming something. It's about remembering what you already are. Every life follows a story. The question is, whose story is it? Jung believed we're all living a myth, a symbolic script that runs deep beneath our conscious choices. He asked, what is the myth you are living? If you don't know, you're probably trapped in someone else's. But once you start to see the patterns, the repeated mistakes, the hidden longings, you begin to wake up. And with that awareness comes power. Because once you see the story, can rewrite the ending. Here's the twist. Even when we start waking up, we resist. Why? Because the ego, the you you've always believed in, is terrified of change. It would rather stay in a familiar cage than face the unknown truth. That resistance has a name. The shadow ***. It holds the parts of us we've denied, rejected, or feared. Our anger, our wildness, our truth. And to meet your real self, you have to walk through that darkness. Stop performing and start becoming. It's not easy, but it's the only way to freedom. Living as your true self isn't peaceful. It's a rebellion, a breaking of chains, a shedding of skin. You might lose friends, you might disappoint others, but in return, you gain your life back. To live as yourself is to live with purpose, not borrowed purpose, not inherited dreams, but the one only you were meant to live. So ask yourself, are you living your truth or performing someone else's dream? The scariest thing isn't dying, it's reaching the end of your life and realizing you never truly lived it as you. Carl Jung believed that our dreams are windows into the unconscious. They bypass the ego and speak in symbols, revealing truths we avoid in waking life. In dreams, your true self appears, not as facts but as stories. A lost child, a burning house, a voice you don't recognize but somehow know. They aren't random, they are mirrors. And when we learn to read them, we begin to reclaim the parts of us we lost. Jung didn't want people to fix their dreams. He wanted them to listen, because often the real you is already whispering, just not in words. Most people don't question the world around them because they assume it's normal. But normal is just a shared illusion built from collective fears and beliefs. Jung warned that societies can be just as unconscious as individuals. Mass movements, trends, ideologies, they often reflect a deep avoidance of truth. To wake up, you must step out of the crowd. You must think for yourself, feel for yourself. Be alone, sometimes painfully so, because only outside the illusion. Can you begin to see clearly? Jung was fascinated by alchemy, not the turning of metals into gold, but the turning of self into soul. True growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from chaos, from breakdowns, nightmares, dark nights of the soul, but through that inner fire. Something awakens, a new self. A deeper self, not perfect but whole. Alchemy isn't about escape, it's about integration, taking all the parts of you, even the ones you hate, and turning them into strength. This is the gold Jung spoke of, individuation. Jung's word for the full realization of the self isn't about self-improvement, it's about self-recovery. It means living in harmony with all that you are, light and shadow, strength and wound, past and present. It means living a life that feels real, rooted, alive, and in that return, there is peace, not the peace of perfection, but the peace of truth.